All right, so check this out. This is pretty insane. So the lockdowns in the last 24 hours, 89. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is WordPress security. Now, if you develop on WordPress, your sites have probably gotten hacked at this point, and you might be scratching your head, why do my sites get hacked, and how can I prevent that? I've been doing WordPress development for over 10 years, and I got to tell you, my sites have been hacked by Russian websites, Chinese e-commerce sites, you name it, gambling sites, all that kind of stuff. So I want to break down what I've done in the last couple weeks to completely lock down my WordPress websites. And all of my students in my paid program for Rank and Rent, they already know. They know what I've been up to. So if you're interested in joining a Rank and Rent slash SEO slash web design coaching program, hit the link in the description and you can hop right in, or you can schedule a time with me. We'll talk about, what it is, what the program entails, how much it costs, all that good stuff. So I want to talk about a very specific plugin today called WP Login Lockdown. And this is actually on AppSumo. If you want to go check it out, I highly recommend it. For 59 bucks, it's pretty nominal. Of course, you can stack more codes if you want unlimited websites, which is what I did because I know I'm going to use this on all of my websites. And if you're using a system like MainWP, which you should be to manage all of your websites, you can actually install this in one click across 500 websites if you have that, right? So I recommend installing this on every single website. Now, a lot of the times, these hackers, they get into your website through the login URL. Every website, every WordPress website has a default login URL, right? It's wp-admin.php or login.php. We want to change that because there's a lot of people that just go around to different websites. They go to /login and boom, they're already at the login screen. You can change it to whatever you want, right? I'm not going to show you what I changed mine to, but you can literally change it to anything, right? Anything that you can remember, that your clients can remember, how to access the login page again. That is kind of step number one, because then you stop bots and humans from accessing the login screen completely. You can also change what happens when they go to the wrong URL. So you can have them redirect to the homepage. You can have them redirect to 404 page, whatever you want to do there. Now, what I turn on by default is I want to block bots from accessing the login page and attempting to log in. That seems pretty straightforward, pretty standard. I also want to block login attempts with non-existing usernames. Now, this is pretty huge because what these hackers try to do is they try to guess the username, right? Usually they guess admin, they guess the name of the website, they guess a couple other default standard names. So if that's not an existing user on your website, they're automatically going to be blocked and they're not going to be able to reattempt a sign in, right? Because a lot of these bots, they actually use brute force attempts at signing into your website. So they're running a script that's just hitting your website over and over again, trying different combinations of passwords and admin usernames. So we definitely want to block non-existing usernames. This is an interesting one. I'm adding a honeypot for bots. So it's actually a special hidden field on the contact form, which will actually catch bots trying to sign in, because a bot will just fill out everything that it thinks it needs to on a form. This actually won't show to a human. It's a hidden form that only a bot can pick up on. And if they fill it out at all, they're automatically blocked, right? Because only a bot can see it. So this is a really good one if you want to completely block bots from entering your website. You just put a honeypot on there. There's a lot of other stuff in here like cookie lifetime. 14 days is the default. So if they're blocked from entering the website, they have 2 weeks where they can't sign in again, or 30 days, 3 months, or even a year, all the way up to a year. Enable Cloudflare IP header. I don't do any of this stuff. So that's basically it. I hit these 3 checkboxes right here. You can log passwords and stuff like that. I don't really mess around with that stuff. So this really depends if you're giving access to your clients. Maybe they forgot their password and you might want to increase the number of max login retries. Hopefully they just copy paste a really long password that you give them to access their website, instead of like a memorable password that they might just like mess up a couple of times. So I usually just keep this at 3. And the lockout length, you can change this all the way up to, a few days, right? So this is based on the IP of the person or the bot trying to log into the website. If you raise it to 60 minutes, a bot could come back in 60 minutes and try again. So you can change these. I just leave these as default. And you want to whitelist your IP address. So the only IP address that I whitelist is my home IP address. And this is the IP address that will never be blocked. So this is obviously good if you want to troubleshoot client websites, anything like that, that they may have lost access to. All right, so check this out. This is pretty insane. So the lockdowns in the last 24 hours, 89, and lockdown since plugin was installed maybe a week or two ago is almost 700. Failed logins the last 24 hours. So you can see here, Germany coming in at number 1. Man, you Germans got to chill out. Leave my website alone, right? This could also be where the IP address of the bots are based, at a data server or something like that. But a lot of people from the United States, India, China, Vietnam, trying to hack into my website. Now, this is super crazy. A lot of these, so this one actually says it's a bot, incorrect password, bot. So it's actually identifying different bots and humans, which is really interesting. So here it says 83% of them are humans. It's probably a sophisticated bot getting past the bot detector. But that is still pretty staggering on how many lockdowns are happening on a daily basis, right? So that's why a plugin like this is so paramount. And this is something that WordFence doesn't really do. It might lock it down a little bit, but this plugin in particular specializes in blocking bots, blocking login attempts, hiding the login URL, all that kind of good stuff. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, onto the firewall. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of this plugin. I toggled all of these on automatically, so we can just go through this really quickly. I'm not going to read everything here because there's a lot to dive into, but I'm just going to read you the highlights, and this is all good stuff to enable automatically. And if you're using a plugin like MainWP, they actually do a lot of this stuff as well. So you're kind of just like doubling up the hardening and the security of your WordPress installations by using both plugins. So number 1, you're blocking bad bots. So this is coming from a database where they've already identified malicious automated software programs that do content scraping, spamming, DDoS attacks, all that kind of stuff. So you're automatically pulling from a list that people already know about, and you're blocking those bots automatically. Huge, huge value. Directory traversal, this is also huge. This is how hackers basically install malicious code on your website. Is they're able to go into your admin folder, your uploads folder, and they're able to see essentially what's on your website. So we're basically just preventing them from being able to traverse the directories on your website. There's HTTP response splitting, cross-site scripting. This is actually a huge one where a lot of hacks come from, and actually installing a malicious script in the request. So this is huge. Cache poisoning, dual header exploits, SQL and PHP code injection, file injection, null byte injection, exploits such as C99 shell, PHP shell, remote view, site copier, etc., and PHP information leakage. So this will actually show the hacker what version of PHP that you're using. And from that information, they're easily going to be able to say, oh, I can do this exploit or that exploit based on the PHP version of the server or the individual application. So super important to kind of hide all the information so they have nothing to go off of. Super important to just toggle all of these on. It's not going to break your website. It's only going to really harden your security. Now, two-factor authentication. I don't use two-factor authentication. I think it's fine if you leave it off unless you have a really sensitive website. I would probably put this on. So this is pretty legit. They actually have Captcha built right into the login page, and you can use Captcha V3, which is actually an invisible Captcha score that it gives your session. So it actually scores you if it thinks you're a bot or a human. So you don't actually have to check a checkbox or anything. You can use Cloudflare Turnstile as well. One thing to note is when I tried to install Captcha, I believe it was Captcha V3 or V2, it didn't actually work on Cloudways because Cloudways, something on the server was actually blocking the URL that gives you a little math problem. I think it was this one actually built in Captcha. Yeah, it gives you this little math problem, which is just an image. So for some reason, Cloudways was blocking that image from loading on the front end. So something to be aware of, I actually had to go in and disable the plugin over FTP to get back into the website. So I would just use this with a grain of salt, really make sure that this Captcha will work with whatever hosting environment you're using. There's also cloud protection. I just leave this all on default. Now, country blocking, this is huge. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to whitelist, and I'm only going to whitelist the United States. So everything, I'm actually using a VPN right now, so it says I'm in Mexico, but everything outside the US is automatically going to be blocked from accessing the login page, right? It's just an extra step. You know what these guys can do is they can just flip on a VPN and then they can just put it in the US. You know, that's fine. It's just an extra step that they have to go through and a hassle because I will automatically block all of these foreign countries from accessing the login page. Obviously, you can block website access as well, which is really interesting. I guess if it's a lead generation site, you can totally do that because you're just serving local businesses in the United States anyway. You know, depending, we actually have students from Australia and the UK. So depending on where you're at, just, you know, block everything outside of your country, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. All right, that's been updated. So everyone outside the United States are going to be blocked from accessing the login page. Sweet. All right, let's move on to design. And this is just kind of a nice feature. It has nothing to do with security. It just really freshens up the login page. And you have to click this enable customizer, save it, and then click one of these. So this is a tree service website. So I actually have it just set for green, just kind of a nice, you know, thematic way of logging into the website. And you can add in your own logo if you do, you know, if you want in kind of more of a white label agency, you know, you can put your agency logo on the login page or the client's logo. That would probably make more sense. So yeah, just kind of a nice to have. All right, so why were my websites getting hacked over and over and over again? Well, it's pretty simple. I think I found the problem and I didn't have Captcha on my forms. It came to my attention that hackers actually access your website and upload and inject malicious code using contact forms. So unless you have Captcha built into the contact form, they can just run a script or a bot to continuously inject malicious code into your website, infecting the database and the entire directory of your WordPress installation. Heaven forbid it will actually reach the rest of your applications on your server, but I realized I needed to install Captcha. So if you're using Gravity Forms, which is what I recommend people use and what I teach in my program, then there's a ton of different add-ons that you can use, but the really important one is using Captcha. But version 3, I think, is really good for lead generation sites because there's not an extra step someone has to do to becoming a lead when they fill out the form. So it actually helps with conversion rates as well. So you definitely want to use Captcha V3. It's more secure. It's easier for the leads or the people visiting your website. So I highly recommend you install Captcha. So there you have it. That's what I do to lock down my WordPress websites. If there's something else that I should be doing, please let me know down in the comments. If you found this content helpful for you, then please consider liking it, giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.